Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. I'm Brian Winnikins, and joining us today is Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike as we talk about the Board of Education meeting from last Wednesday. And Superintendent Doverspike, thanks for joining us this morning. I guess first we will have summer school. And looks like we'll even have separate classes for not only the middle school and high school, but also elementary school.
Yeah, we're going to return to more of our normal summer school concept. We will have middle, senior, high school kids in the building coming up in middle of June. And then the elementary school summer school will be at its normal time, the late July, into early August. We're kind of returning to some of our normal ways of operating summer school as we have in the past, as we start to transition into what may be the new normal.
And speaking of that new normal as well, you did at least introduce to the board, at least the remote learning plan and the school year outline for next year. That's just something that the board can kind of take a look at, and this will be kind of worked on and then voted on in July.
Yeah, that's kind of the timeline that we've established is we're trying to put some things in order for next year. Obviously there's still a lot to do to finish this year off yet. It's been an extremely unusual year. But we're trying to put some plans in together for next year, try to get a little bit of an early start and have a little bit more time to analyze it, unlike last summer where everything was kind of flying at you left and right. And you created a plan and then the next day the guidance was different and you had to create an entirely new one. So we started looking at our plan and I think we're comfortable with where we are with it right now, but obviously some things can change and we want board input along with, we're going to, some of the remote aspects of it, families will be seeing here in the near future once we get, a couple other things finalized. But, I think we're going to start looking at a combination of what used to be and kind of maybe taking some of the good things, maybe if there was such a thing as that came out of the last year with some of the sanitation and, availability of hand sanitizer in the building and so on and so forth. But probably the biggest question that people are probably going to ask is right now our recommendation would be to make masks optional. I know that seems to be a question. And then we plan on recommending that we will offer remote learning like we had this year, but it will be a little bit different next year and that there's going to be some criteria involved to become eligible for it related to, mainly your success this past year doing it, going actually all the way back to March of last school year. We want to make sure that only those kids that were successful with that form of learning continue to do that. We still believe that in person is the best option, but we understand that for some students and families, the remote learning fits their needs or suits their individual needs. And we still kind of want to make that available, but we want it to be with those kids that were successful doing it because, we don't want to continue to have kids be in a learning environment that they may not have had success with.
There's also the part of it as well. In some respects, I think some safety for students. If a student is taking some of the college classes up in Eau Claire and they kind of live in, they got to drive up to Eau Claire, then they got to drive back, and then they may have to drive back to Eau Claire again. All that time on the roads, that can be an issue. And also just a little bit of convenience. So why not have that remote option, at least for that student, maybe along with the criteria that allows them to do that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's kind of some of the conversations we have is we have kids that are taking, early college credit program classes up at either CVTC or UW Eau Claire. And, if they live on that end of the district, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to drive into Durand and drive to Eau Claire and then, drive here, there and everywhere. So, if that, or maybe their college classes are morning and an afternoon and maybe they can, sit in the library at UW Eau Claire or CVTC and take a class from our staff in the middle part of the day or whatever. There's scenarios related to that that are available. And some kids, I think, enjoyed the opportunity to work a little bit of additional time because they had that flexibility in their schedule. So I think there's some value to it and there's some possibility. And I think, if you look at where post-secondary may be headed, I think post-secondary is going to consider this or has or will continue. I mean, I think, you look at the method of delivery in a 200-person lecture hall when you're in college versus a remote class. The only difference is in a remote class, you don't need the physical space like you do in the 200-person college lecture hall. but the delivery is still the same. When some person, stands at the front of the room and lectures, there's not a lot of interaction back and forth. So are we getting to a point where, this becomes more of the norm, as you and I are sitting here right now on Zoom, doing this interview. I mean, and I think, we're moving more and more into that avenue. I think there's pros and cons to it, but I think this is just going to become a more natural part of our life.
Talking with Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike about the school board meeting from last week. Superintendent Doverspike, one of the things from the pandemic last year was the free meal program. That is going to continue here at least through June in the district?
Yeah, that's going to continue through June. We have a sign-up sheet that's kind of going on right now that just contact the one of the offices and they can direct you in the right way. But yeah, we will offer pickup at the high school on select days a week for the month of June. And then there's a lot of conversation related to the free meal program going into next school year. And I've heard there's some legislation that's currently being passed around out in Washington right now to make it a permanent thing. So I think there's a lot of movement in that area right now that we're going to have to keep an eye on. And I think it's going to be something that's going to continue to evolve over the next couple of months.
I know Superintendent Doverspike, you let Lori Snap and the food service people handle all of that. Are you concerned about potential challenges if this is just opened up free for everyone and it's a permanent thing? Or do you think there might be some challenges for the district on that?
I think the challenge, I don't really see, I mean, if it becomes a permanent thing, it would be more during the school year. So it would just be, we're serving kids. I mean, in some cases it might be a little bit easier because the tracking might be a little bit more difficult, but on the flip side, it's you're not going to have, kids, bringing in lunches and other such things, and we aren't going to have to deal with collecting money and all that goes along with that, and collecting free and reduced lunch forms. So some of that stuff I think might become easier, the paperwork end of it, that probably Lori and the office staff deal with. But I think there's a lot of districts that are going to be going through a similar conversation, and I think we're just going to kind of have to wait and see what happens with the legislation and adjust accordingly.
Talking with Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike today. Superintendent Doverspike, a switch for our athletic training services. Tell us about that and why that decision was made.
We've had a long-term relationship with Marshfield Clinic, and they have served us well. It really has nothing to do with service. It has more to do with we've had a growing relationship with Prevea Health during the pandemic, and have really found them to be a great partner in terms of their availability to meet with administration, to meet with schools, to assist us during this pandemic. And they're looking to move on to starting a training program in this part of the state to model what they have in the eastern part of the state, which is where they're home based. And so we've had that conversation with them, and Prevea Health has a loose relationship. I don't know exactly how firm their relationship is with Advent Health, but I know Prevea Health is with Sacred Heart or HSHS, which is, I believe, who locally we get the ER doctors from. So it's always good for us, I think, to be in a relationship with loosely or in great detail with one of our local partners here in the district with Advent Health. And, we've had a great partnership with them, and so I think it's just a quick opportunity for us, or an opportunity, for us just to continue to grow a relationship and see what happens.
Now, during the school board meeting, you mentioned there's no cost. How is the for that service, is that funded by the state, WYAA, or is it a donation? How does that work?
It's a service that those hospitals and clinics provide to school districts. I'm sure that the contract reads they cannot refer to their doctors. But I'm sure that they view it as a cost analysis basis. I can't answer for them why they provide it for free, but I know every district I've been in, they do. I'm sure some of it also was to get their advertising out in the community, and then let people know that they're available and continue to grow our relationship. But I think it's also just a service that they enjoy providing to local school districts.
Talking with Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike this morning. Superintendent Doverspike, another, I would call it a pretty prestigious award, or at least acknowledgement from U.S. News and World Report for Durand High School, not only on a state, but a national basis.
Yeah, it's always good when U.S. News and World Report, recognizes your high school as one of the best in the state or one of the best in the country, or, near the top. And we're very proud I think we do a great job in all of our buildings every year. We're proud of what we've done, and a lot of credit goes to, not only, Mr. Klaus and his leadership, but the staff do a tremendous job, and the kids do a great job, and parents and community support. And, I think it's really an award for the entire community to be proud of, because we all play a part in some way, shape, or form for the education that's provided to our kids.
Especially with the challenges that rural districts like Durand, Arkansas face every day.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I mean, you look at some of those school districts, and there aren't too many rural area school districts that are in that listing. It's a lot of large urban area school districts, just because they have a higher population of students. They can provide a different amount of services and stuff like that. And I think, I've had a conversation with various people over the last year, whether it be candidates for teaching jobs or what else. I'm a big believer that we're a perfectly sized school district. Granted, I might be partial, but I like the size of our school district because I feel like we can offer a lot to our students. And I think we're going to continue to offer more to our students with some partnerships we've created, whether it be with Cluster A, whether it be with CISA, whether it be, in other areas that we have. But I also think we're small enough that people know people, and kids know people, and teachers know kids know teachers. I mean, and, I know a fair number of the kids in both buildings, which, you get much bigger, and most kids don't know the superintendent, but I have the opportunity to get out and be visible and be with the kids. And, so I think it's just a really great size school district we have. And I think we're perfectly placed to continue to offer and further the education we provide.
And finally, coming up on May 28th, you get to say goodbye to the class of 2021. Boy, what an interesting couple of years for them.
Yeah, definitely. They'll have some stories, as I'm sure we all are, about the last 18, 16, whatever months. I've lost track now of how many months it is. It feels like it's been forever. That's all I know. But yeah, I mean, graduation is always kind of bittersweet. I don't know. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite event every year, to just kind of see there and sit back and be proud of the product that the district puts out, whether that be, and then, like I said earlier, all the credit goes to everybody involved in this, the community, the staff, the students, the parents, everybody plays a role in that. And just to see the product that is put out by our school district, and know that those kids are going to be doing great things. And, it's always an exciting time and a fun time. And I think it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, knock on wood, the weather holds off. We're looking forward to moving it out to the to Doverspike Sports Complex. I think it's going to be kind of interesting and fun out there. Doing an outdoor graduation. We're hoping that the rain holds off, but maybe it's not too sunny, because the sun at that time of day can be a little blinding in the bleachers there. But, we're hoping rain holds off and we can have it out there. And we're kind of looking forward to starting a new tradition, possibly.
And that will be 7 o'clock on May 28th at the Bowerville Sports Complex. Also be available on Channel 99 too. That is Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike. You're listening to Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN.